Good afternoon, everybody. It is Degenwrestling, and we actually have a podcast today.
What? Wait, we do?
Yeah,
Since when?
dude. Since we started the podcast last summer, and we're like,
Started last summer?
yeah, I know, right?
I thought it's been like a year.
No, it's been since last summer.
Is that all?
Yeah, we were doing that other thing before we came to this.
I thought we started it like
Huh?
around WrestleMania time last year.
No, we did our Predicto Mania.
We did do
We
that.
started that around WrestleMania of last year.
I kind of want to look into this, see when we actually did.
Yeah, but aside from that, contrary to popular belief and our own sadness, mostly mine, in fact, almost 100% mine.
Oh,
we're not talking about WWE 2K24.
Yeah, no, we're not.
Yeah, no. Even though it's a great game and y'all should play it, except for those of you who the game is not for. Which you can find out who it's for on last week's show.
Sure.
Alrighty. So just this came to me this morning, and I just wanted to pose it to you. If you could redo one wrestler's last match, who would it be, and what would you change it to?
Oh, that's difficult.
Yeah, right?
One wrestler's last match.
Yeah.
It'd be Shawn Michaels.
You take out the Saudi show.
I'd take out the Saudi show.
What would you replace it with?
I'd want him to fight either AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Bryan Danielson.
See, I thought about that too. But then I thought to myself,
well, you see, there was the perfect setup for him versus Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, but that was around WrestleMania 30 time.
Yeah, but still,
if you were to put Shawn in a match against Bryan Danielson, you'd have to do it in the middle of the card in order to keep that whole thing, you know, because I wouldn't want to change that. As much as I'm not a huge fan of the Saudi show, I am a huge fan of what Shawn did. So, actually, if I were to look at this, and this is why I posed it, would I go Shawn?
See, the only other person I can think of is Kurt Angle.
Yeah, but Kurt Angle, I don't want to say who I think Kurt Angle's final opponent should have been.
No?
No.
You don't think it should have been like Chad Gable?
Well, see, I wouldn't have minded that.
It's well, just a matter the reason is because it should have been John Cena.
Yeah, that's why,
that's the person.
That's why I didn't want. That's why I didn't want to say Angle. I will go with Shawn if I have to. Take him out of the Saudi show, because as much as he is the best thing about DX versus Brothers of Destruction, it's not even close. It's nowhere as good as, say, him versus AJ Styles would have been.
Yeah.
I would go with AJ Styles over Bryan Danielson, because when you could have had the Michaels-Danielson match, my fear is if you had that match, you would have taken away Bryan Danielson from that WrestleMania 30.
See, which I would have done it at the year after.
You would have done it 31 when he had just come back from
either the year after,
neck surgery,
or why not just wait until 32 because 32 is a pretty shitty one anyway.
32, yeah, it was a pretty crappy one. However, Bryan Danielson would not have been available. He would have just been told he had a career-ending neck injury.
Oh, right, that would have been.
So yeah.
Well, they could still do. They still could have done it anytime after.
They still could have done. Would you have done it at 34 over Owens and Zayn for Bryan Danielson's return and Shawn Michaels' final one?
Probably not, but maybe.
That's my issue with this. Is that if I were to choose Bryan Danielson, I'd have to.
Wait, when did the 2 Nights of Mania start?
What, this week or? Okay, so WrestleMania starts on. It'll be Saturday, April 6th when it starts, and then Sunday, April 7th. Would Bryan Danielson's contract with AEW run out?
No.
Okay, so you can't choose WrestleMania.
No, I just mean I would have had it be against Bryan Danielson
Yeah.
at some point.
That's fair enough.
Like, not even WrestleMania. Doesn't even have to be WrestleMania. It
Yeah.
could have been SummerSlam
Yeah.
or something.
For me, I'll take AJ Styles over Bryan Danielson for this specific case. But either way, you can't go wrong with that. But speaking of things where you can go absolutely wrong, Booker T.
Yep.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. So neither one of us, I think, and I don't think it's too fair to assume this, neither one of us really like defending CM Punk.
No.
But when you get stuff like this, it's kind of difficult not to be on his side. Sorry, I know journalistic integrity, all that. But Booker T, man, oh man, oh man. So apparently on his podcast, he spoke a heat between himself and CM Punk. The problem is, no one can seemingly corroborate his story beyond the fact that Punk was indeed at the March 12th taping. From the sounds of things, from every source who wasn't Booker, Punk kept mostly to himself, apart from positive interactions with Shawn Michaels, Matt Bloom, and NXT talent.
Yeah, he was apparently there at the taping, but he kept mostly to himself, and a lot of people didn't even know he was there.
Yeah. But this isn't Booker's first time under the scrutiny of his peers for fabricating heat between himself and a talent. He did so against Corey Graves and was proven wrong. Ben, this is a wrestling take I know you and I agree on that Booker's in the wrong.
Yeah.
But apart from firing him, which at this point I would consider, what can be done to limit Booker's shooting with no evidence in the future? Like if you're WWE,
firing him,
yeah. If you're WWE, what can you do?
Pretty much nothing. He doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut.
See, I'd build it into his next contract.
Yeah, they would. It just, I don't think he'd sign something like that, so it wouldn't matter.
So that's great. He walks away of his own accord.
Yeah, but
it's not firing him. I don't know. I would like to see WWE do something to check Booker T.
Yeah, I just don't think that's gonna
if
happen.
there is,
I don't think he can control himself.
If there is something that Booker T says that's completely out of line, like he has seat with CM Punk or Shucky Ducky Quack Quack, whatever. I want to see CM Punk come down there, do commentary on NXT for a couple of weeks, just a couple of weeks, and do everything possible within company guidelines to get under Booker T's skin to see how he reacts. I think that would be a great way to send a message to Booker T. Don't do this, otherwise this will happen. Booker T has come under fire for a lot of just little shit like that.
He has a lot of takes that I'm not gonna call hot takes. They're just crap.
Well, he's got crap takes, but also like the idea he ordered something like pizza or something to be shipped to the NXT arena for himself.
Yeah.
Like before the show ended, and everyone called him on it. Like little shit like that makes me think that something needs to be done or a message needs to be sent to Booker T.
Yeah, because it got sent like to the announce table or something like that.
Well, it didn't get he had the order up on the announce table.
Yeah.
And people saw that. That's not a good look for WWE.
No.
I'm sorry, I don't care how warranted it is.
If you ordered it, at least don't bring it out on camera.
Yeah. At the very least, stuff like that, I think there needs to be a little bit more discipline to Booker T.
I think unless it's a product placement that they want to do.
Yeah, you shouldn't have done it.
Which would be freaking hilarious.
It would be. That would be a great way to use it. But there wasn't.
Yeah, all of a sudden you just see a guy, a big thing come up on the Titantron, and it's like Papa John.
Yeah.
Playing. He's got to run it to the announce table.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John.
Doesn't it could be any pizza place, but I thought it just
running down and Okay, but yeah, that would be cool. Aside from that, though, I don't know. I would like to see a message sent to Booker T somehow. I think having Punk do commentary on NXT for a couple of weeks would send that message. Just so long as Punk was given explicit directions within company guidelines to do everything possible to make Booker T's life painful.
Just fine him for being a dumbass.
Fair enough. So, Michelle McCool or Undertaker, depending on the source, talked Taker out of returning to the ring. If it's Michelle, does she deserve a medal of heroism?
I don't know.
See, here's the thing. Undertaker was on his 6 Feet Under podcast. He had his wife on as a guest.
Okay.
First of all, if you haven't listened to that podcast, listen to it. There is a great story there about Taker breaking kayfabe to pretty well save Michelle McCool's life.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I don't know if you heard the story or
I
not.
didn't hear the story. I seen it. I wanted to watch it, but I haven't had a chance yet.
So basically, do you want spoilers or not?
Sure.
Okay, so Michelle was doing an overseas tour with WWE at the time.
Okay.
This is like 2009-ish.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. She was like really sick, close to death.
Yeah.
We don't know if it was just something wrong with her medically. It had to have been, or just like extreme hypothermia, something. But she does not remember most of that tour. What she does remember was being really fevered and at one point being on a tour bus, on another point being in the Undertaker's arms, going to the trainer's room, Taker keeping everyone out and draping her in his jacket.
Yeah.
He came out with, but it's a really heartfelt story. If you did not believe that the love between Taker and Michelle was cool, it's totally real, totally legit. That being said, depending on the source, either Taker talked himself out of not coming out of retirement, or Michelle McCool did. If it's Michelle McCool, thank God.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry to the dead man. If it is you, great insight. You don't have. I'm scared of what his body would collapse into, knowing how much he had to prep to have one match at WrestleMania a year for the past 5-6 times he was at WrestleMania. It's terrible. Lillian Garcia loves Samantha Irwin's ring announcing style. Ben,
oh, it's great.
It is great. Where does she rank for you, all-time ring announcer?
She's gotta
Samantha
be top
Irwin.
3.
Is she behind Finkel and Garcia?
I believe so. Yeah. Just too much nostalgia there, and
well, Samantha Irwin hasn't been doing it that long.
No, she hasn't.
But the way that she's able to do it, her style is all her own. And whether you love it or you hate it, it is something that you can bring to a role that is fairly innocuous. As much as Howard Finkel originated it,
he did,
which is fantastic. As much as others, are great at it, she's bringing her own style and her own flavor to a spot that's pretty stagnant. And at least for me, it's helped get certain superstars over.
Yeah, and it's actually something where she's allowed to do it now when she was told to reel it in a bit. But
which, thank God.
Yeah, I'm glad they allowed her to bring it back.
So Nick Nemeth officially joined the rotating host list of Busted Open Radio. Ben, what do you want to know about the former Dolph Ziggler's career?
Honestly, I've followed his career since like the beginning. It's hard to really...
Yeah, that's fair. I want to know what he felt like just as a performer through the past 2 years of his WWE contract.
See, we already know that is the issue.
And I want to know how he felt about the locker room.
Yeah.
At a time when it's seemingly... it's passed him by, but yet he knows that he's one of the best workers in the company. I want to know where his head was at.
See, I think we know all that from the whole "It Should Have Been Me" promos he was doing. Because those were very real.
I'd want to hear it more of a Bust Open Radio. I think he's got stories.
Yeah.
I want to know what his relationship with Paul Levesque is, too.
Yeah.
Because I think that might have had something to do with it. I think if he was truly a Triple H guy, he would have stuck around.
Well, see, he was asking. I know he was asking to be released.
Yeah.
For like basically a year beforehand.
Yeah.
And Vince wouldn't let him go.
Yeah, Vince wouldn't.
And it finally came up, and they're like, "If you want to go."
Yeah.
They finally just allowed, because he wanted to do some other things where he had more time. Yeah, anyways,
wasn't it his stand-up comedy or something like that?
Yeah.
So, Dom Mysterio, we know this is a little late, but he got booed at his own wedding.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh my god. So more stuff has come out about that. Apparently, Damian Priest took responsibility for getting him booed at his own wedding.
Oh, that's even more hilarious.
Either way, I'm sorry. The fact that you're able to have a wedding and somehow keep it kayfabe, is just spectacular. I don't even care that you can't really do the whole mommy Dom romance thing anymore.
Yeah,
I don't care. Because it was done in such a way.
But they're still basically doing it anyways.
And it works. I don't know how it works. I don't know why it works.
Because, Rhea's with Buddy Matthews.
Yep. Dom is with
his high school girlfriend, whatever her name is. Don't know. Doesn't really matter.
No. But,
yeah.
It just works. I don't understand with Dom how it works.
Well, it's not because it's not that it's a romance. It's that Rhea is mommy.
Fair enough. So TNA at the latest pay-per-view in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, confiscated Scott D'Amore signs from the crowd.
Yeah.
Other than boo this company, I just, it's not a good look. It is not a good look.
No, it's not.
Especially when your whole company was pretty well built by D'Amore, and people stuck around on Impact contracts because Scott D'Amore was their boss.
Yep.
And you've got somebody in the business who is simultaneously able to work with WWE and AEW and New Japan simply because he's Scott D'Amore and he's respected enough in the business. It feels to me like, well, I think you said it was something else, that guys at the top don't understand day-to-day operations.
Oh yeah, that's very true.
Because my biggest concern is you've pretty well crushed the morale of Impact. I don't see anybody coming out on the TNA side saying this is going to be bigger and better than when D'Amore was in charge.
No, it just seems like Impact or TNA, whatever you want to call it these days, is probably going to start fluttering away more and more.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at just the company, in particular, Josh Alexander's one, Moose is another, that have come out publicly, among several others, including legends like Tommy Dreamer, saying that they were there or they signed extensions or whatever because Scott D'Amore.
Yeah.
That was why they did it. And now if you're going to take away Scott D'Amore, you have to, especially to the linchpins of your company, you have to prove that you understand their concerns, but going forward, they need not worry. And when you pull stuff like that to a locker room that's already hurting because their soul is gone, it doesn't look good. At least not to me. So WWE is rumored to change the start times of pay-per-views in North America going forward. Of course, after WrestleMania, because WrestleMania is WrestleMania.
Yeah.
From 8 o'clock Eastern to 7 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, I like it.
You like it?
I like the earlier start time.
I'm on the fence about it. The reason I'm on the fence about it is, are you starting it so that it goes an hour longer? Or are you starting it so that it's just the same 3-hour chunk?
I'm
And
Pretty sure it's just
if it
so it's the same, like just starting it earlier.
I haven't heard it. I haven't heard one way or the other. And in the past, under the Vince rule, when you had pay-per-views start earlier, they would still end at the same time. And in certain cases, it is exhausting as all hell to have those longer pay-per-views.
Yeah, Triple H has been really good at keeping the pay-per-views in the timeline.
Yeah, within like the 3 hours, 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's just starting it earlier for the sake of starting it earlier.
And if that's what it is, I'm all for it. But if it also means that that's a gateway then to extend out into that other hour in the vein of value, my worry is, do you have enough, or do you book enough week to week?
See,
where you can do that.
I think starting an hour earlier is very beneficial to certain pay-per-views if they need that extra hour to go later. For, say, something like a SummerSlam, where matches feel a little bigger than, or supposed to feel bigger than a regular pay-per-view.
Yeah. But we don't know whether or not they're going to
go but that it sounds like they're just going to move the start time, which means the end time will still
and the one thing that lends credence to your argument is it's only in North America pay-per-views where they're planning to do this. Which makes me think that you're probably right. Just the little part of me that's like,
I mean, pay-per-views ending an hour earlier at that point gives you more time for the next day, really.
It does. I'll give you that. So this is something I've got listed down here as the anime comparison, because Ben, if I know anything about you, it's that you love tacos, poutine, steak, alcohol, wrestling, and anime. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 or 3 of those
loves. Do I get to choose?
No, unfortunately, no.
Okay, because I was really hoping for the poutine and steak.
We'll see. I would do that. We've got the stuff in the freezer, but I can't do that right now. Like maybe in the future we'll test those loves.
Okay.
But for now, it's wrestling and anime. So all you got to do is give me the answer to the following questions and why you picked the answers. Okay. And it's all about anime and wrestling this time. Just to give you a bit of a spoiler. So, who loves meat most?
Luffy.
Bronson Reed, who this week stated he won a big meaty men tournament at WrestleMania 40, or Monkey D. Luffy?
Again, I say Luffy.
Is it because he's Luffy?
It's because he's Luffy.
Okay.
I mean, Luffy will stop at nothing to get the meat. Bronson Reed kind of hits a wall.
I'm going to be honest, though. When I read about Bronson Reed wanting a big meaty men tournament at WrestleMania, I'm like, oh, so you're Ryback now. That's not a good look.
But who else would it be? It'd be Bronson Reed, Ivar.
Bronson Reed, Omos, maybe?
He said big meaty man.
Big E, if he's available.
Yeah, but I don't see it. I don't see them having really enough for that, because Eric's still on the shelf.
Yeah.
Otis,
I could see.
But what's the point? There's no point in having a big meaty men battle royal really for nothing.
Okay. In your opinion, will Cody Rhodes finish the story or his story this year?
I sure freaking hope so.
And if so, will it be as satisfying as Ash Ketchum's Pokemon Journey ending?
I didn't find that too satisfying, so yes.
Perfect. The bigger letdown, the KC Grand Championship from Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Darby Allin injuring his foot on Dynamite, putting his Everest climb on hold?
Okay, no, I need the KC Grand Championship.
Yeah.
Like the match in whole, like the
just as a whole, just as a whole. Don't look at it as its parts, because I know you're gonna be like, well, that part is better. Just the whole thing as a whole.
The whole thing as a whole.
Yeah.
Okay, it's gonna be Darby Allin then.
Okay. All right. Most delusional move. Okay, so we've got Usopp claiming leadership of the Straw Hat group.
That's pretty delusional.
Paul White teasing an in-ring return.
That seems plausible.
Or Mercedes Moné comparing herself to Stone Cold Steve
Mercedes
Austin.
Moné comparing herself to Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Right?
And it's not by much, unfortunately.
It really is. but it's still there. Here's the thing. Mercedes Moné, I'm sure she felt like a big deal.
Yeah.
She's in her hometown. I want to see 2-3 months down the line.
Here's the thing. She says she felt like Steve Austin. She didn't look badass. The cheers actually were not that loud. It was rather dull, actually, if you go back and watch it. And she couldn't talk her way out of a paper bag.
And that was in her hometown.
Yeah.
In her hometown.
Yeah, one person, I can't remember who it was, but it was a wrestler, tweeted about being on the card in Boston, and then they, in like brackets at the end of their tweet, they said, because I can actually spell the city's name properly.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So it's time to take a look at our match of the week.
Yeah.
And you and I, we've went back and forth about this. We would like to say a special shout out to Dwayne Johnson for his wonderful promo that pretty well disqualified every SmackDown match.
Because it went too long, and SmackDown matches had to be shortened.
He did.
And the SmackDown matches were not all that great because of it.
No. So what is getting our match of the week this week?
I'm going with Ricochet versus JD McDonough. The opening to the gauntlet match. They really started everything.
So it's the gauntlet.
No, it's not. We've been through this.
We've been through this, but we haven't been through this on air.
No.
That's why.
Bell starts a match, Bell ends a match. A gauntlet match is a series of matches, hence the name Gauntlet. It's not the whole thing.
Yeah, but hence the name match. It is one match.
But, no. Otherwise, there would have been a disqualification in there.
There should have been, but...
But because it goes from... Because a match goes from bell ring to bell ring, it's a series of matches.
So, before we go too far, if you're going bell ring to bell ring, it would be the gauntlet match. It would be Ricochet versus JD McDonough for sure. This thing was, for lack of a better word, insane. It was a mile a minute.
So good.
And it really set the gauntlet match off on a right foot.
Yeah, no, I believe they done the spot of the hitting the ropes with the Spanish fly, right?
Yeah, I think.
And ever since that happened in New Japan, it's been getting so overused.
Yeah.
But it felt right here.
Because you've got Ricochet and JD McDonough.
Yeah, it felt so right here. But everywhere else, it's just so overused now. And people are just wanting to be like Will Ospreay, it seems. But it makes sense in a Ricochet versus JD McDonough match.
Yeah.
Everywhere else seems to throw it in just for the sake of having a cool spot.
Yeah.
Which is why they throw in the suicide dives, and all that. That spot needs to stop unless it actually makes sense to do.
Yeah. If you can make it look as good as Ospreay,
or Ricochet.
No, if you can make it look as good as Ospreay, do it. Ricochet is one of those people who can make it look as good as Ospreay, so we should do it. And if you're not looking bell to bell at the gauntlet match, if you're looking at the match as a match, would the gauntlet match win? It would be Becky Liv, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing about the gauntlet match. After you get Ricochet, JD McDonough, you get the warbling, horrid crash. I believe it was Bronson Reed. That was out immediately after JD.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
but that one wasn't too bad. It wasn't bad. That
but it was still like a giant step down.
yeah.
And then you have Sami Zayn come out running the proverbial gauntlet spot.
Yeah.
He gets rid of Bronson Reed. He gets rid of somebody else.
Well, he gets rid of Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed then attacks him after.
Yeah.
Out comes.
Well, there was somebody in the Gable. Yeah. The point being, it wasn't the best.
It wasn't.
In any spot.
And then Gable should not have been the last one for Sammy.
No.
Sammy and Gable never should have met in that match.
No, you had the perfect spot. Either Sammy gets eliminated and just meets Gable face to face as the last person to come out, have Sammy offer Gable a handshake, and then Gable go through it, or vice versa, have Chad Gable out and Sami Zayn in.
Yeah.
The reason why I think, and there are some rumors going around, and it's by Booker T, so take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
That Sami Zayn wasn't happy. Well, yeah, I can see that. You put the one other likable person as the final obstacle.
Well, the one that people want to be good.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it is from Booker T, but there have been many reports that state otherwise, too.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're in that position, I can understand why. Yeah. Because it feels like you set both Sami Zayn and Chad Gable up to fail.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If Gable would have won, I know a lot of people who would have been unhappy, myself included. Yeah. Because Sami Zayn should have won. Sami Zayn deserves a spot at WrestleMania. If you have Sami Zayn win, I know a lot of people that are like, Chad Gable should have won. Yeah. I want to see Chad Gable take the belt off of Walter.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense to. With Sami Zayn versus Walter, I don't think anybody's happy. If Sami Zayn wins the Intercontinental Championship belt, I don't know.
I don't think it does anything for Sami.
Yeah, I don't think it does anything. I don't know what it does, if anything. But at the end of the day, match of the week, definitely Ricochet versus JD. If you're judging the gauntlet matches bell to bell. If not, it's Liv Morgan versus Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
Take your call. Either way, see both of those matches. They are both really good. So our final talking point today on the Talk is Jericho podcast. I'm glad you brought him up earlier because it makes it a lot easier for this. Will Ospreay revealed why he chose AEW over WWE, saying that quite simply everything was better, from the offer to the money to the scheduling, everything. And here's what we know about the situation. WWE and TNA were also in talks with Will Ospreay.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know much about TNA's offer, if anything.
No.
And we do have speculation from Meltzer, take it with a grain of salt, that Triple H lowballed Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
To the point where it was almost criminal. And we do know that Tony Khan has a lot of money to play with. He signed Mercedes Moné to a huge amount of money. We know he's playing with his daddy's money. It was 3 years at like what?
I don't know.
She got a deal similar to Okada, from what I heard.
Yeah.
I've heard it was a little better than Okada's deal.
I'm not too sure. But
yeah. I've heard anywhere from like Okada level, which was 3-4 million, to somebody saying 10 million, which I think is absurd.
Either way,
if Mercedes Moné could get 10 million, by all means.
Yeah, it's still too much.
But but we know his dad has famously deep pockets. We're talking around net worth of $12.2 billion.
Yeah.
So basically, I think my question is, do WWE and TKO Holdings have to look at the way that they offer contracts to talents, simply because talents are looking at it like a business?
Oh, they absolutely do.
Yeah.
It is a business.
In what way would they go about reviewing or redoing the way that they do contracts?
Yeah, don't know. I'm not in on any conversations like that. It's hard to really say how they do contracts or what they should do different or anything without knowing the insides of how they're
So basically, the way I look at it though, like the way I look at it is WWE, regardless of what you think, work more than AEW.
Yeah.
Like more house shows, more house shows, more events, less time off, whatever.
Yeah.
If a motivating point to a wrestler is going to see their families, maybe have it in their contract where they get to take one house show tour off, one overseas tour off, just something there to sweeten the deal, because in WWE, you know you're going to be working more than AEW.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people like that just because they like to do the work.
Yeah. But there are some that don't.
Yeah.
And it's got to be at a point where you take a look at things.
Yeah, and then you have to also judge based on
but
like their popularity outside of WWE.
Offering those unique incentives, first of all, would be a great thing to do. But I heard something, I think it was from you, about Kazuchika Okada and why he didn't go WWE.
Yeah.
And it was because they wanted to put him in NXT and potentially give him...
He wanted to work with Shawn.
And potentially give him that NXT money.
Yeah, that's a potential, but who knows?
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense. If he wanted to go to NXT, work with Shawn, that makes sense. Okada is an unproven talent outside of Japan. He's very, very big in Japan. Yeah. The problem is, Okada could have stayed in Japan and made that money.
Yeah.
With AEW, he had Bryan Danielson there, which, whether or not you agree with me or not, is huge.
Yeah.
He has Moxley there, which, whether you agree with me or not, is huge. And he's got somebody who is looking to pay him the level at which he believes he is worth.
Yeah.
And take that risk. With Will Ospreay, I literally do not understand how WWE could be outbid in terms of money, which Ospreay says that they were.
Yeah.
That's what this comes down to. I want to know where Triple H's head was, because that's Will Ospreay. I don't watch a lot of stuff outside of WWE and AEW, and I damn sure knew who Will Ospreay was.
Yeah, but it's also, it might not have been Triple H that gets to make the call. He's creative. That doesn't mean he's part of the hiring.
He could easily be.
But he still has to answer to higher up about money. Yeah, for that.
Which higher ups they need to have their finger on the pulse if they're going to be the ones we're answering to about money. For Will Ospreay, I genuinely cannot understand how WWE could be lowballing to that degree on a talent like Will Ospreay, which is why, I don't know, if I'm in there, I look at those incentives. I want to push those incentives to the right kind of people, and I want to get to know them before I start negotiating with them to try to figure out who they are as people outside of the business, because a lot of times I'm sure a big conglomerate like TKO Holdings and even us as fans understand these wrestlers are people above all else.
Yeah.
And when I look at something like this and I see something like a Will Ospreay, and I see him going to the company where I could see him going, but I really don't want him to go. And I look at the reasons why, and they all make the company that I wanted him to go to look like a complete empty-headed moron.
Yeah.
I'm starting to wonder. So if it's me, I look at those incentives, I look at who those people are, and if I'm not in control of the money, like Triple H could be or could not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying one way or the other. Under Stephanie McMahon's chairmanship, though, it was pretty obvious. But if I'm not in control of the money, and I know who does, and I know who is, I want to make sure that that person knows the wrestling business and knows the impact somebody like a Will Ospreay can make. Otherwise, things aren't looking too great for the landscape of free agency going forward.
Yeah.
And I happen to know WWE's got a fair few of them coming up in the next 2-3 years.
Oh, absolutely.
And for me,
There's two big ones coming up this year.
who are those?
Rollins and Becky.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So basically, that's my take on it. I don't know if you agree with it or not. But you got anything else you want to say before we sign off? All right, I guess that's the show then.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to us. I'm Nathan, he's Ben, and we will see you all next week.
See you guys.